YouTube, it is your boy Coop, aka the Great DC. We are back at it again, and yeah. So as you guys can see, I interviewed Coach Lake. This was long overdue. I was just being, I guess, lazy to put it out, but well, not lazy. It was just more so of I didn't know if we were gonna link up for part two, so I didn't want to just put this one out and then we have a part two. But he's a busy man. He has a lot of things going on, so eventually we'll link up for the part two. But as of right now, uh, yeah, just got to get what we could get right now. So the interview was relatively quick in comparison to the Coach Apollo interview, which was like for an hour or something. But yeah, he had to go. It was like in between, like I guess his lunch break or something like that, whatever. And yeah, so anyway, long story short, thank you guys so much for rocking with the video, rocking with me, supporting me. But yeah, without further ado, I want to give a big shout out to Coach Lake, and yeah, start the video. See you guys. YouTube, man. It is your boy Coop, aka the Great DC. We are back at it again. Episode 2 of Athletic Minds. And today we have a very, very special guest. A man that was, well, no, not was, is a great leader, uh, amazing head coach, just like a father figure to those who didn't have one or, didn't have the best one. Nice, great teacher, like I don't even know what else like to say about this man. Just an all around great guy. Now is a principal. Now go figure that, man. From coach to principal.
Yeah, go figure.
We
I,
have the man Coach Lake.
uh, Coop, I don't even know what to say. Like, thank you isn't enough for your words right there. To sit here and hear things like that from somebody that played for me years ago and is out doing his own thing right now and being successful and giving back. I mean, you know, the thing we always talked about is don't let high school football be the highlight of your life, right? Don't let that be the high point. Let that be the stepping stone to doing more. You know, taking those lessons, those hardships at times, and those successes, and all the hard work that comes in between, and growing from it and applying it. And there's nothing that I take greater pride in or satisfaction in than this, seeing players who are doing that, years later and still having that connection. I mean, the words you said about me, I kind of want to say like, nah, that I don't know if that's where I am, but if I've been able to have that impact on people, that's the goal.
Yeah,
It's that's the goal. I still think back, and this has stuck with me since the day it happened. The day I resigned as head coach was one of the toughest days of my life, and um, it was the right decision at the right time for me. There's no doubt about that. Things have worked out. I don't how I ended up in this position as a principal is beyond me, but I love it. I really do. It's a whole new leadership role in a different way, and I've had to
yeah,
learn a lot of coach Lake and principal Lake. Got to be two different people.
yeah.
But I still remember addressing the team in the weight room that day. You were already in there. You already started your workout, and I just remember you turning around, putting your head down, throwing your gloves on the ground in anger, and walking out. And that always stayed with me because it said, in a lot of ways, it said to me, "Wow, I must mean something to people. If it hit a kid that hard, it must mean something." And I know for a while you were a little cold towards me, which I understood. I totally got. And in an odd way, I appreciated that because it said what you thought of what we were doing as a program. Like, I think you saw the bigger picture that wins and losses are all well and good, but there's so much more when you're working with young kids about who we become and who we are and those types of things. So yeah, I'll never forget that, man. I'll never forget
Yeah.
that. And anytime I talk to a coach who's like, yeah, I think I might have hit the end of the road. What was it like for you? I get calls from people that'll be like, hey, coach, you did this. You were in it a long time. tell me what it was like at the end, and I tell that story. I tell that story to every person. I said, listen, this is the kind of reactions you're gonna get.
Yeah.
Some people go in the corner and cheer. Right?
Yeah.
There's gonna be like, yes, he's gone, thank God, I can't stand that dude. And there's gonna be others who be like, the hell with this.
Yeah.
That's not what I want to do anymore. But I appreciate all the kind words, man. It's I get no more joy out of working with young people than seeing their success later in life. It really it means the world. You know, I'm not my like there's this my office is just big
Yeah.
players and memorabilia and stuff. My house is. I don't know if the wife always appreciates that, but it is. I got stuff there. It's who it's in. I guess it's in my blood.
Yeah.
Who I am, man. I
Absolutely,
appreciate
coach.
the words.
Yeah, no, for sure, coach. And then yeah, that day that was I was not the fondest of that moment. That was wasn't one of my favorite moments of life. But yeah, coach, it's because just like you said, I saw the bigger picture. I also saw like it was just bigger than football. I learned a lot of things just off the field from you that I didn't. I don't know if it was like naiveness, but it was just like who's gonna come in here and like fill that void of that leadership? Because like you always say in the locker room, like if the worst thing that happens to you in life is losing a high school football game, you've had an amazing life. And at the time, we never understood it because it was who cares what he's talking about? Like, I'm upset now, we lost or whatever. But then when I got older, I really saw that and like, yeah, damn, like I would kind of wish like if I could choose losing a high school football game or this situation I'm in now, I would choose the high school football game. So like just things like that. I didn't think like, okay, who's gonna come in and fill this void? I didn't think anybody could, but coincidentally, we had somebody that was, I would say, you on steroids. So I
Yeah,
guess the void,
that's a fair assessment. Yeah.
yeah, I guess that
Yep,
void was
definitely.
filled.
Yep. Yeah, it's we all like to think that we're irreplaceable. We can be forgotten in a heartbeat, and that's just the sad part of life. You always see stuff in life that says like, if you die at work, your job will be posted the next day, but what will your family be doing?
Yeah,
When you're prioritizing and how you're addressing like, okay, well, what's important? How am I handling my business? How am I handling my family, my life, my decisions, my choices? But
yeah,
yeah, but I've been down that road too. At one point I thought, well, if I resign, who could ever do this? And then I
yeah,
was like, well, who am I? Like, gotta be something better than me out
yeah,
there. Yeah, no, it all plays. Yeah, and I remember that as a kid. There was a transition in coaches when I was in school, and it was like, what happens now? What?
yeah,
Because it's your world when you're a kid. It's your world. Um, yeah, it's tough.
yeah.
Very tough.
And especially because I don't know if you remember this, but 2012, coach. Let's go way
Mhm.
back, 2012.
Yep.
We had a team by the name of North Plainfield Red from the Watchung Hills
Yeah.
division. We went to
Mhm.
go see the field house. We went to go meet you, and it was
Yep.
like crazy. Like, wow, actual
I,
high
I
school
remember that
football
day.
locker
I
room.
went up and
Yeah,
sat in the booth. I went up and sat in the booth and watched you guys play. I remember.
yeah. Oh man, that
Yeah,
was
I
so.
remember that whole crew. Yeah, we knew we had something going there.
So going from that to just going from like, okay, like this is the guy that you like were wishing to be able to play for is now leaving. It's like, damn, like right at your senior year is like, wow, it hit kind of hard.
It's so I tell you, and I know anybody that's ever coached has gone through it. There's all the different things that play into your decisions when it comes to that kind of stuff. But the impact that you're going to have on kids is the that's the gut wrenching part.
Yeah,
That's the part because if you've never been in that locker room, if you've never sat with that group, you just don't know. We always would say nobody knows but us. Nobody knows but the people in the room. Nobody knows but the people between the lines. And it's a truth, man. Like, I tell people all the time, I'm like, yeah, I've cried with my kids. They're like, what? You did what? Like, yeah, they've seen me cry. I'm like, it's heartbreaking to see what kids go through sometimes. It's brutal. I mean, the effort that you put in and what it means and all that kind of stuff. Yeah, it's real.
yeah.
It's real.
What, coach? While we're on this topic, we
Yep.
got to put the rumors to bed, coach. Some
Yep.
people are saying you got fired. Other people are saying you stepped down willingly, coach. What is the truth behind that?
So, all right, straight up, here it comes. the previous season, I was tired. I felt like I had run my course in football and I needed to go. That I wasn't having the impact that I had previously, that I wasn't the voice that kids needed anymore, and I was ready to go. Um, there were a lot of struggles that year on the field, off the field. There's a lot of stuff that went on. And I had always in the back of my mind thought about becoming an athletic director and, going to school and becoming an athletic director. And at the end of that season, I had just said, you know what, or as that season was going on, I said, when this ends, I think I'm going to have to really sit down. And we played on Thanksgiving at South Plainfield in the mud, in the slop, all that stuff. Johnny Chilemi breaks the long run. They lined him up at fullback. He's the kid we caught the year before that Steph caught at the goal line. He breaks the long run down the left sideline. We end up losing the game. It was just an ugly scene. We come back. I was really down. And I said to the coaches that day, I said, listen, I'm going to need some time before I know what I'm doing. And they were like, wow, all right. I said, and when I say tired, I was 21 years in of coaching. And I was really worn out and didn't think I had it. I didn't think I had the voice that kids wanted to hear, whatever it may be. So I gave it about a month, and I ran into Coach DiPaolo at a clinic. And we talked and we got some things worked out, and I knew that I was going to be bringing him on board, and I was all excited. But more importantly, I wasn't leaving without that trophy.
Yeah.
I wasn't going home at the end of my career without that trophy. So I said, coming back.
Yeah.
And we're getting that trophy.
Yes, sir, Coach.
We'll see where life goes from there.
Yeah.
And as the season went on, even during camp, I knew that I was, as much as I loved my players and I loved the work, I was struggling to get through stuff. It was getting hard for me to maintain the level that I needed to be at. And I said, okay, it's time for a transition in life. I'm going to move on. But I ain't saying anything, because if we don't win on Thanksgiving, I ain't leaving. Because I'm not leaving without that trophy.
Yeah.
So I told my family, and they were the only ones that knew. I told my family that I said, today may be it. And I don't even know if you guys knew, but News 12 was there, and I was mic'd up. And we came off the field after pregame, and I talked to my mom, my sisters, my nephew, my now wife. Jen was there, and they were like, "How are you?" I was like, "I don't know. I feel good about the game." I said, "But this is an odd feeling." I said, "Because if we win, it's it." And it was it was an emotional moment. And I turned around, the cameraman's there, and I was like, "You got that?" He goes, "We won't tell anybody." I was like, "Dude, you better not." He's like, "We have it all." He's like, "That was a great moment, but we'll never share it." I was like, "All right." And we went through the game, and was awesome. I still remember, I wanted to score one more, and you guys were like, "No, you said we were going to take a knee to end the game." We took a knee on the goal line going in.
Yeah.
But that was the right decision. It would have been wrong to stick one in for no. We won the game hands down.
Yeah.
And went in the locker room after, and we celebrated, enjoyed every moment. And I think I ruined all the coaches' Thanksgivings. I said, "Okay, guys, just want you to be aware. Today was my last day," and they were like. And packed up, took the trophy, loaded it in my car, because I always brought it to my family Thanksgiving. I went out, stood at the 50-yard line for a minute, put a little kiss down in the middle of the MP, and walked off. And that Monday, I went and met with Mr. Gordon and handed him my letter, and cried like a baby.
Talk about a movie scene, Coach. Yeah, we might.
So yeah, that was my own decision. There was no. I did not get fired. I probably should have. I'm sure there were times I could have been fired or should have been fired. No doubt about it. But yeah, no, it was. And I look back at it now, and I'm very fortunate as a coach, because I had supportive players, I had a loyal staff, I supportive parents. I mean, people are always going to question stuff, which it should be that way. Like, I totally respect that. People aren't always going to agree with things. Totally respect that. But I had support from parents. I had support from the school. I had support from all around, and I chose my time. You know, a lot of coaches, unfortunately, don't get to make the decision of when they're done. It's just a reality. It's just, you know, the nature of the beast. But I got to make that decision, um, and I was comfortable with. You know, when it all settled, I was very comfortable with it. It was hard. It was really hard. That first year, I would wait till the game started, and I would come in the side gate, and I would go down in the CVS corner of the end zone, and there was a trailer there, and I just used to lean against the side of the trailer so no one could see me. You know, so I could watch the game because I was like, those are my kids. That's
Yeah.
my kids out there. That's my sideline,
Yeah.
my field. You know, like that kind of stuff. So it was tough. You
Yeah.
know, it was tough. I miss those lights, but I miss those relationships more. You know, fortunate now in the school here, Arthur Gilmore's here working with us, JP Donatelli's here working with us. So it's like you know, I love having my people.
Yeah.
You know, Coach Taylor, who was obviously a student of mine, played for me,
Uh-huh.
coach with me. You know, he's here. Coach DePaulo,
Yep.
I'm really dating myself, right? Coach DePaulo played for me. You know, he's here. You know, so it's having those kind of relationships and getting former players or people to come back, talk to kids, see kids. It just means the world, man. It's everything. But I
Yeah.
did not get fired. I do admit I probably should have been in a couple different instances, but I did not. No.
Okay, there we go. We have it here first. You heard it from
There
the,
you
the
go.
source
Breaking
himself.
breaking story. I don't know if it's gonna make
Breaking news.
ESPN, but it's breaking news.
It's gonna be breaking something, Coach.
Yep, there we go. There you go.
And Coach, I gotta ask you, kind of a funny question, but do you feel like the all those trips to the military base kind of took their toll on you? Because I don't know how you did it, Coach. I was like 16, and I was like, bro, and I know you were doing it with us, which is also a testament of you, just your leadership, the fact that you would do that with us. But that had to take a toll on
I
you.
loved that, man. I loved that. I thought that opened eyes to so much for a lot of people, gave opportunity for people, respect of what goes on there. There's so much of football that is similar. Don't I will never say football in the military. I mean, there's no comparison.
Yeah,
Similar qualities in the commitment level that you need, the discipline, the self focus, and you can really learn a lot. Like I'll never forget when Captain Smith would say, "We're just walking." I'm like, dude, we're walking as fast as I possibly can. I'm
yeah,
practically running, and I'm carrying 65 pounds, and it's hot. And he's like, we're just walking. You know, he's like, it's in your head. The fatigue's in your head. We're just walking. Um, I still keep in contact with him from time to time. You know, he's out of the military now, but I still keep in contact with him. Um, I don't know if they took a toll on me. I was tired mentally more than I was tired physically. I was tired mentally more than anything. But I love those trips. Man, I wish I could still do it. I need a new knee now, but I wish I could. That may have contributed, but yeah,
yeah,
no, I love that stuff, man. And I always felt, and that's probably some ego, like, but I was always a believer too. I wouldn't make somebody do something that I wouldn't do, and I feel that way in the role as a head coach. Like, all right, if Coach Taldo's filling water buckets, I'm filling water buckets. Coach Bannon's taking equipment on and off the field, I'm taking equipment on and off the field. Like, you know, I'm loading the bus, you're loading the bus. Like, the same way now as you know, I'm a principal, but I tell my people all the time, we work together. It's simple. We work together. The only time I'm important is when somebody's got to take blame. Other than that, if there's credit to go around, that goes to my people. If there's blame to go around, that comes to me. Like I just and I would never stand on the side and watch you guys go through that work without doing it. Because and I don't remember, like I would, a lot of the real hot days, I'd wear a jacket or a hoodie or something like on the field because I wanted to know how hot it was too.
yeah,
I was going to go out there and just like, all right, let me stand still in the shade and make sure I don't sweat too much. Like I wanted to be uncomfortable and nowhere near what you guys were dealing with, but I wanted to have some level of understanding
yeah.
what guys were experiencing. That was the best ride home. We came home from Earl, Naval Weapons Station Earl. I never seen so many people sleep with their face smashed against a window. Like dudes' noses were pushed up in the air. They were out cold, bouncing on the parkway, heads
Oh
bobbing,
man.
not even waking them up. Yeah, that was That was a lot of fun.
Yeah, that was an interesting experience because when we got there, I'm thinking, okay, we're gonna do the course and then we're gonna like drive back to the site and eat. But then he was like, no, we came here walking, we're gonna leave walking. I was like, oh boy. So
And then they kept walking us and then turning us and then walking us and turning us. Yeah, and it was all mind games, all mental,
yeah,
all mental. Yep, all
yeah.
mental. I read a lot of military leadership kind of stuff.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. I remember you was telling us a story about something like that. I think it was from the dude that killed Bin Laden or something, or from the Navy SEALs where they would like tell them like to make their bed or something like that, something like that.
Oh, that's from Admiral McCraven.
Oh, okay,
I
yeah,
showed you the video of Admiral McCraven when it's on YouTube. He spoke at the University of Texas, and it was like no matter what happens, get up in the morning and make your bed. So no matter what happens during the day, you go home, you got a clean, comfortable bed to get into.
yeah,
You can get up the next day, and no matter what your troubles were, you got a clean, comfortable bed to get in. Next day, you start all over again. Yeah,
yeah.
it's a
So
great one.
yeah,
Admiral McCraven. Yeah, he's really good stuff.
yeah. So real quick too, coaches out there, aspiring coaches or coaches in general, I want you to listen to what he said before. He would never ask people to do things that he wouldn't do himself. So he leads by example, something that leaders sometimes lack because they feel like my job as a leader is just to instruct and to point where to go. But I feel like the thing that a lot of leaders miss or some leaders miss is the fact that you're in it with your team and that you are not above your team. You are with your team and your team is with you and you guys are there to help each other. So always try to lead by example. I think that was a good point that you mentioned, Coach, that I feel like we should kind of like, touch on a little bit. But
It's the most important thing. I think it's something that happens sometimes when you're young. And I was young in the coaching game. I was a head coach by the time I was 30. Um, I started coaching. First thing I ever coached, I was 19. I was coaching kids that were 18. I coached American Legion baseball at 19. The kids were, I played with them. It was a little different, but coaching football, I started at 21. I was a head coach at 30, um, which to young people seems like, wow, you were old man. But it you can get caught up in the me aspect of it, and it's never about me. It can't be. If it is, you're in the business for the wrong reason. And I've learned more in this role, like of the psychological aspect of it, of working with kids and their understanding and just human psychology of the way the mind works and how people respond. Um, if it's about you, then how do you get buy-in?
yeah,
It's got to be about us. Um, it's a us first, the kids, it's the total, the whole, the big picture, us, them, meaning the kids,
yeah,
coach last. But when you see a lot of youth sports and guys are talking about, we won our 10U team won the championship. Who cares? Like, who cares that you won a championship? Does a kid know how to tackle
yeah.
safely? Does a kid know how to get in the stands? Does a kid know how to protect the ball? Like, okay, you got some bigger kids than somebody else did, and they ran fast. No one cares if you won the 10U championship. No one cares if you won the 11U championship. No one cares if you won the 12U championship. Like it just, and I think a lot of kids today get turned off from sports at a young age because they hear so many, Vince Lombardi, Newt Rockney speeches when they're 7. I go and see youth games and somebody's like, you gotta give it your all for the love of your town. It's like, it's kid, one kid's sucking his thumb, the other kid's looking for his mommy. It's like, what are you doing? Like, teach them to love the game, teach them some skills, teach them to build to it. You're not playing in the Super Bowl, but that wears me out as a coach. That bothers me when I see that kind of stuff where people are, especially young kids, the rah-rah part for young kids. It's like, come on, number one, you're scaring them. You're boring them. They don't know. They don't even know what those things mean. Your 9U team doesn't need the hype coach.
Yeah.
You don't need a turnover chain on the 9U. It's a little different world, right?
Yeah. But coach, so also like from your coaching perspective, what do you see in maybe younger players or maybe like high school players that you feel like uh, either it's hindering their progress or it's helping them go maybe be better players or potentially be able to go to the next level?
So if it's next level, it's academics. It's always academics where there's not enough of a stress on where you need to be academically. Because if you can put together the total package of academics and athletics, you're going to have far more opportunities than just a student or just an athlete. I mean, there's no doubt about it. There's those freak athletes, right? There's those freaks that are just they're just born. Like Tyson Chandler who played for us. They're like people are like, how'd you help him get to the NFL? I was like, I don't know. I wasn't his parents. I didn't make him. He was 6'7", he was 360 pounds, and he ran really fast. That's how he got to the NFL. But I think that's a big part of the stress of the academics, and the academic piece is self-discipline. So if you can discipline yourself to do well academically, then you're definitely gonna be able to discipline yourself as an athlete, right? Because that's what you love. But it's like the needs and wants. I want to be a college football player, but I need to be a student in order to do that. So that's a big part of it. The other thing that I think really hinders kids, no fault of their own, we are in such a self-centered, self-promoting society that like we will always emulate our heroes, right? Like you're always going to have that player you look up to. So many of in today's game, so many players talk about their brand. When we talk about the professional levels, they talk about their brand and who I am and this and that, the other, which is totally understandable when you're at that level and it's about business and it's about money and it's about, how do I extend my career? How do I diversify my career? So that's totally understandable. But kids emulate that stuff. So, I'm in 8th grade and I'm looking around like, oh, what am I going to do? I got to, what's my brand? Who am I? It becomes a very, very individualized game in all sports. The other piece is everywhere you turn, there's some type of sports talk that's about analyzing and criticizing. So kids analyze and criticize all the time too. And I said, I had the game go, oh, we lost it. He can't dribble. He can't do that. He can't do that. I'm like, you didn't even tie your shoes. What are you talking about? He can't dribble. You can't tie your shoes. Who are you to criticize? Like, come on, I saw you in gym. I beat you one-on-one. What are we talking about? I always say I'm old, I'm slow, I'm gray. I got one leg. I beat you. Like, how are you trash talking somebody? So I think part of that plays in. I think as far as the advantages, there's such a better understanding now of like for kids for like nutrition and strength training, not just weights, but flexibility and explosiveness and everything that comes with it. So that's the help. Exposure. There's no such thing as a kid that gets missed anymore. Like when we were making VHS tapes and stuff like that, and I'm mailing out like 40 VHS tapes with a big pile of junk and all that stuff. Like nowadays, with the ability to be seen, is so easy. I think what players have to understand a lot of times is what needs to be seen. Nobody needs to see you run away from a bunch of slow kids. That doesn't impress anybody. Nobody wants to see a running back get caught. Nobody wants to see an average play. So if you put average on film, because a coach is looking at your film, they're looking at 5 plays. They're in that first 5. If there's nothing that keeps them interested, next clip, next clip, next clip. So I think there's opposite ends of the spectrum on that. That technology can be your best friend in how you market yourself and give yourself opportunities. But it could also, if it's not done properly, it can hurt you. But I like seeing the kids who open up, I follow a ton of stuff on Twitter, and the kids that say, I'm at this school, I got a 3.4 GPA, I got this on my SAT, and here's my film. Because now like, all right, I can work with this kid.
Yeah.
We've had, and I won't say names on here, we've had people that were beyond talented. I mean, super talented. That like were just, you couldn't explain it. Who, you spend 4 years trying to work with them on their grades, and they're not listening, and then a college coach shows up and says, "What? No, I don't want to see the film. You can't get them in." You know, what do colleges, what are they based on? Success on the field, success off the field, meaning graduation rate. You can't help me on the field. You can't help me in the classroom. You're not coming here.
Yeah.
You know,
But
there's so many different things that play in there, but that it all comes down to the same thing. What level of commitment do you have? What are you willing to do to be successful? And that hasn't changed in 100 years. What are you willing to do to, are you the guy that talks about, we used to say, don't talk about it, be about it.
yeah.
You guys talk about going to the weight room. You guys, the guys talking about running. You guys talking about doing your schoolwork. You talking about being good, or you just shutting your mouth and going out and being good.
Yeah, that's. I mean, if y'all gotta listen, like that's as raw as it gets. You know what I mean? Like you just said, a lot of times we focus on like the bells and whistles, and I've learned more of that my senior year, like with Coach Chick,
Mm-hmm.
because I remember like with you, we really didn't have the freedom to like do certain things, like which I understand now why. Before I'm like he's out of
All that
touch.
pink and all that we're
Yeah,
battling over everything.
yeah. I'm like we were just like he's out of touch. He doesn't understand. And then when we get a guy like Coach Chick that comes in, it's like just free for all. And then he used to always say like this first time I ever heard this. He was like, "You look like Tarzan, play like Jane." Where like we would have like the
Mm-hmm.
glitz and the glam, but we would forget about the fundamentals. We would forget about like we actually are here. Like you said, we're actually battling against other people that want to, like lack of a better term, take our head off. So uh, I feel like
It's
that.
not lack of a better term. That's
Yeah,
legit.
yeah,
That's what's
yeah.
going on. I mean, you know what I would say? Like, and I'll use them. Alabama. You ever see them change their jersey color?
Nah,
Come out with a different helmet.
nah.
Dude's all fancied up.
Yeah, they have the plainest uniforms ever.
Just straight up ball.
Yeah,
And and every year they got they got 12 guys in the league or more.
yeah,
It's just they got first round draft picks sitting on the bench. They can't get on the field.
yeah,
It's crazy.
yeah. So, but yeah, Coach. Trying to transition a little bit because I know we're kind of like pressed on time. What do you think? I want to say that last season or maybe seasons up. Like, let's just take my
Mhm.
sophomore to my junior year, senior year. No, junior
Yep.
year. Sorry. What do you think went wrong mostly with those seasons, as far as like why we couldn't take the next step to even be I want to say 5-5 team?
I think there's a couple things. I think on a coaching end, I think we were at times getting away from who we were to try to find little things to tinker with, and we weren't real clean on anything that we were doing. I think part of that was, part of I think I was becoming real predictable in what I was doing. I think that didn't help us. That or that willingness to open things up more. I don't think I was doing a good job with that. Um, I think because we struggled, it was hard to believe in anything that we were doing. So if you're struggling, it's hard to get your kids to buy in and trust what it is that you're doing because you're not getting results. So the more you struggle, the harder it is to overcome that. So like winning, you have to learn to win. And I love Eric Thomas, the hip hop preacher. Eric Thomas,
Yeah,
he's awesome. And his whole thing is I can't explain it, but winners win and losers lose. Like that you develop a culture. Like at times, and I used to feel like at times we were just waiting for something to happen. We were right there and waiting for something to go wrong, or we were one play away here, and then the doors fall off, and now you're down big there. So I think that was part of it. Um, I think if your kids aren't buying in, like I would say, if the kids don't buy or ain't buying what you're selling, it's not going to work. And I think we were running into some of that. I think that was I don't, and that's where I was saying I think my message is getting a little stale. It wasn't like a personal thing, like I don't like that guy anymore, but I think the message was stale. The philosophy was getting a little lost for some people. Quite honestly, we got up against some really, really, really good football teams.
yeah,
There's no doubt about that. We hit some tough scheduling spots in there. We were when we were opening the seasons the way we were. you're opening up, I guess, Cranford Summit back to back year after year.
Oh yeah.
Cranford Summit, Somerville. It gets a little that could be a lot to over Rawway.
Yeah.
It gets a little tough to start overcoming week after week because you start, you get a little thinned out. You start taking a pounding. Now you're not working. You're not getting your reps in practice the way you need to. You're not as sharp. A lot of it sounds like excuses, but I think there was a definite coaching aspect to our lack of success. I think there was the difficulty in buying in played into it, and we didn't execute.
Yeah.
So you put all those things together. That's not a real good recipe for
Yeah.
success. Those and I started to see some things too. And obviously we had our guys that, our guys were buddies and stuff like that. But I also start to see, and I've always said that when practice ends, 10, 12, 15 guys go off together and going in the same direction. They're leaving, they're going somewhere together. You're going to be really successful because your kids care about each other more than they care about themselves. When the locker room empties out and everybody goes off individually in their own direction on their own, or one or two and this and that, that's never a good sign. That's never a good sign. It was Bill Parcells always said that winners gather in large groups and talk about being successful, and losing teams gather in small groups and talk about why they aren't successful. I think you run into some of that too, and I think that can happen anyway in those situations.
Yeah. No, I think that's completely
What would
accurate.
you say? I mean, you lived it.
I want to say, yeah, like the things that you were saying, are true. I just also feel like, I don't know, just like majority of it was just execution on our part because we had a load of talent to do it, but I don't know, like I think like we just didn't execute. We
And
didn't.
sometimes I wonder if the execution is, I would look back and say, did we not coach it right, or did they not do it right? Where were we missing out? Like, you always wonder, like, could we have been teaching a technique better? If you want, you're always trying to find a way to be better.
Yeah, but I put that on us players though, because like you guys could coach it as well as you can, but we got to do it. So I put that on us. I don't know. The practices were good. We had really good practices. We executed in practice. It just when it got to game time, I guess something just didn't always click for whatever reason. And I do feel like another thing too was subconsciously we were just waiting for that metaphorical bus to just crash and hit us, and so
And honestly, and I look at it now, and I know that if I look back at it, if I went into coaching now, I would still be me, but I would have a lot different approach in a lot different situations. Um, there was no doubt that I made guys tense sometimes, and when you're tense, you don't play well. You can't think right, you can't execute right. You get into that, you know, amygdala hijack, and then in the frontal cortex of your brain, you can't focus on things. It's really hard to execute when you can't focus. So when I look at that, I think that that was definitely a flaw, clearly in my coaching, even more so than say an X and O. But how I would address situations and players, like I think that and even more so, and I see it more today because there was a time where my style was very effective, and guys were like, "Oh, guys, got yelled at, better play." In today's athlete, I see a lot of guys got yelled at. I'm done.
yeah, shut down. Yeah,
And so now, all right, what'd you accomplish? Your goal is to get to keep playing and not to shut them down.
yeah,
So I think that, when I look back at it, and I always question myself and all that kind of stuff, I start thinking, all right, well then, how much of a role did I play in the failure to execute? Because did I have everybody so tensed up? Somebody asked me one time, they said, "What's the best thing you ever said to a player before the game?" I said, "The best thing." They said, "Yeah, like pregame, like speeches and this and that." I said, "I think the best thing I ever did was put my arm on somebody's back and say, 'Go have fun.'"
yeah,
That's probably the best thing I've ever said to somebody. I said, "Now let me give." I said, and I gave some big time pro wrestling promo type.
oh yeah, absolutely.
Speeches.
Yeah, you the
I
promo
said,
king.
but at the same time, I really think just put my arm on somebody's back, pat them on the back or back of the head, say, "Hey, go have some fun out there." I said I think that was probably the best thing. You know, looking back, that's probably the best thing that I've ever said to a player.
Yeah. But coach, I know you gotta get out of here soon, but I just want to ask you this quick question.
Yep.
So senior year we started running a spread, right?
Hmm.
And then and the spread allowed us to, as Coach Schick would say, play basketball on grass, get speed and
Yep.
space. So I want to ask you, do you feel like with the athletes that we had in 2016, the class with
Hmm.
Arthur, Siraj, Keyshawn, do you
Yep.
feel like we would have been like way better off in that system as opposed to a wing T, which is more run heavy?
I think when I look back at it, I think I would have liked to have done more of what we did in 2009 and 2010 with Eric Fredericks and Vincent Green and Taj Belfield, where we kept our wing T blocking schemes. But we would run a lot. We were in the spread a lot. We ran a lot of empty set. It was a lot of quick passing stuff where we would spread people out and then jump back into the gun, or
Oh,
jump,
okay.
and then we'd get right back into a wing T, because, as you know, defending a spread versus defending a wing T is totally different concept. So
Yeah,
we could kind of have our way there. Um, at the time, I didn't think we had enough people that caught the ball cleanly enough, to rely on the spread as heavily as you guys did in your senior year.
yeah,
Looking back on it, when I looking back, yeah, hindsight, would I have liked to have had more of those concepts? Yeah, I'm not a full spread guy, because year in and year out, I struggle with the ability of to have the lineman that can truly block in the spread and in the zone blocking scheme. So spread concepts with um, wing T blocking and some of the run concepts, yeah, I think that would have been a better way, to really get our offense going.
yeah. And I will say, Coach, as a guy going from wing T to spread, I did not, and I say did not miss being tight end at all. I did not miss
I'm
being
sure
tight.
you didn't. I've never heard anybody say I miss being a tight
Yeah,
end.
I did not miss being tight. Shout out to Travis Kelsey and those guys, but I was like 5'8", 165. I
No,
didn't.
I listen. I get it. I totally understand. There's not a lot of love for the wing T out there anymore. Um, it's a philosophy kind of thing, and it's the thing, because it is as difficult as it can be. The concept behind, you can have a 5'8", 165 guy when we're angle blocking and we're doing it and we're believing in it.
Yeah,
But when you have if you have 5'8", 165 pound guys who say, I believe in this, what we're doing, then they don't care where they're lining up. If there's a guy who believes that I'm a split end, I don't line up in this, they're going
yeah,
to have a tough time doing that.
yeah,
And it's like, putting the square peg in a round hole.
yeah,
Well, why are you lining me up here? This isn't who I am.
yeah,
So yeah, no, there's, I look back at that stuff all the time and say, yeah, and there were times I questioned myself. I'm like, how are we gonna get the edge? We're 165, we're blocking 280. you know, but no, I definitely get it. Oh,
yeah,
I know nobody misses it. I know that. But that's why I love watching Coach Apollo run his spread, because so much of it was power run game,
yeah,
so much power run game out of it.
yeah,
And the other thing I like about the spread, the dual threat quarterback. Now you're playing 11 on 11 football. You're not playing 10 on 11 football anymore.
yeah,
And you might even be playing 11 on 9, because if somebody's going to play you too high, those guys don't count. They're too far off the ball to count.
yeah,
So yeah, definitely. Yeah, I watch the game with different eyes now. I would always wing. I would, if I was to ever get back in the game, I would still wing T block, but it would be a lot more of an open, or more of a spread wing T than the traditional. We would always have the traditional package. I don't know if you watch Penn State; they ran a bunch of it the other night
yeah, uh-huh,
in their bowl game. I mean, football is very simple:
yeah,
block, tackle. Even West Coast offense. A lot of what you see in the West Coast offense is all wing T blocking schemes. Just don't call it wing T.
yeah,
Like, I'll give you this one: Coach Colombo at Del Val. They would always do the spin series and single wing and all that kind of stuff. He got the head job at Immaculata, and people were like, oh, single wing, go do it. He called it the Auburn offense. People were like, oh,
oh yeah, so yeah,
oh.
it sounds better, yeah,
And they didn't weren't spinning as much, but there's still a lot of that's Auburn, you would say,
uh-huh,
behind closed doors, they would say we're single wing, we just fancy it up.
yeah,
And a block, tackle, move the ball.
yeah,
Block, tackle, move the ball, stop the ball. But yeah, nah, opening it up more, definitely. definitely.
Yeah, no, I think that would have helped us as well. But yeah, like you said, it was just it was more philosophy, and I think for the most part, I really wasn't tight end as much anyway because we had two taller guys in Stephen
Yeah,
Barna, Arthur Gilmore. So I feel like you guys called it pretty well. But also, I remember like there would be times where there would be a pass play off of it, so it would be times where I would be in to block, but then other times where to play action off
we
of it.
wanted you there more to get into a route from
Yeah,
there as what we were doing. Yeah, I mean, you try to find those ways.
yeah,
The Yeah, I mean, and there were times where and like if you're throwing on air in practice and you're completing 50% of your passes on air with no pressure,
yeah,
you start wondering how many you're going to complete under pressure,
yeah, absolutely,
against the defender. But yeah, no, I when I look back at it, definitely.
yeah. But yeah, coach, we're at 44 minutes and like 50 seconds. So if, you want to wrap it up, or you still got some more
Yeah, no, but
time?
I want to hop on again. Let's do something next week.
Oh yeah, all right, absolutely, yeah. So be on the lookout for a part two with me and Coach Lake. So I really want to thank you, Coach Lake, for hopping on. Definitely taking some of your busy time to give back to the platform and also to the youth, up and coming coaches, anything like that. Because at the end of the day, this is platform is for you guys, meaning the youth or anybody that's looking for any inspiration or just want to hear a good sit down from people with wisdom and things like that. So yeah, I really appreciate Coach Lake you for stopping by. And also too, do you want to drop maybe your email or anything like that if people have a question or
Yeah, I'll send it to you, and you could throw it on in
okay,
here.
yeah,
All right,
yeah,
yeah, I'll put my Twitter and everything on there, so people ever want to hit me up or anything.
okay,
Coop,
cool.
I just want to say I'm honored that you would even consider me for something like this, and um, it feels really good to hear about having a positive impact on kids, and I'm proud of what you're doing, man. This is a really good feeling to see you doing this kind of stuff, and I look forward to bringing you and talking to our kids here in the middle school.
Oh yeah,
Inspiring.
absolutely, absolutely.
All
Thank you
right,
so much, Coach.
be good, my man. We'll talk this weekend.
All right, absolutely, Coach.
Be
All
good.
right.